Hey gang, it's Deltia from Deltia's Gaming here to go over City of Ash Veteran Mode and talk about the dungeon, how to beat it, boss strategies, and more. So, 40 minutes of narration, get ready to sit with me. There's no music this time, so you're going to love hearing my voice, or hate it, one or the other. So first off, Green Shade is where we do this dungeon at, and that's going to be in the Aldemary faction. You got to turn the music on for you guys so you can listen to something. I've already completed the quest, but this is the entrance. You have some trash to clear, and then there's a guy standing up on top of a tree. That's who the quest giver is. So if you haven't completed the quest in Veteran Mode, pick that up. Make sure to get that. That's worth a skill point and some experience if you're not VR 14. And here's the guy right here. So make sure to get him. Now, you should be VR 14. Dungeon scaling has been released in 1.5, and this is the only dungeon that does not scale lower than VR 14. So hopefully, you're at endgame. I also recommend having about 2,800 health minimum. There's some mechanics in here that will really basically one-shot you if you don't have enough health. So getting started on these dungeons, make sure you have food, you have potions, you have the basic type of stuff that you need. Your weapons are charged, basic stuff. It's going to help you out long-term in this dungeon. Going through here, bunch of different trash pulls basically. Try to avoid the stranglers, unlike what I'm doing, and you just nuke them down. Nothing really too fantastic. I've soloed this first part before. The character I'm playing is Deltia. I'm working on a new build called the Shooting Star, which is kind of the meteor set, which is what I'm wearing, and that's the boss who drops it. He drops the helm in the end of this fight. It's extremely rare. I ran this 30 plus times and I only got one drop. So prepare to run this dungeon a lot if you really want that helm. The helm has a two-piece set that procs that meteor on dot damage, so it's perfect for a Dragon Knight, which is what I'm using. Deltia VR 14 Dragon Knight, nuking people. Some more trash pulls here, nothing too fantastic. Wranglers, stranglers, I don't know why I call them wranglers. Some reason I do, it's probably just my dyslexia mixing up words. Kill those, and then we get to the first boss here in a little bit. One thing I recommend, I'm playing DPS for this video, I recommend Evil Hunter, which is Expert Hunter Morph, the third ability in the fighter skill tree. That's going to add a ton of DPS for you because all these mobs, pretty much, except for the Stranglers and the Tigers, are undead. So you're going to have tons and tons and tons of extra damage and even stamina. So think about using that ability. If you haven't, level it up, get it morphed. It's worth it. Speaking of undead, here it is. And this, after this trash pull, is our first boss. So, just like this, get them together, clump them up, nuke them. It's really nice to have a Dragon Knight and or a Sork that can negate these mobs and or pull them in, like what I'm doing. And simply just nuke them down. Now you want to get up on resources, so I'm using Spell Sim since I'm playing a magic-based ability, getting my resources back up. Now this boss has two adds. One, which I'm targeting right there, is a magic guy. You want to take down the two adds first. DPS want to focus the magic guy, priority number 1, and then the archer, priority number 2. And you're leaving the boss alone. The tank just takes the boss. That's pretty much it. If you can taunt the rest of them, great. If not, people are just going to have to deal with pressure. So we got him down right away. It's really important to drop that guy right away. Then get back on the archer and do the same to him. If you get these two down right away, it's going to make the fight a lot easier. And they do travel and transport, so you have to coordinate with your DPS to see where they are. I'm in TeamSpeak, you're not hearing my conversations, but we're coordinating. Boom, down. Now you'll notice some Flame Atcher knocks up. Leave those alone. Don't even mess with them. Your main goal is the two adds, and the mage, archer, then the boss. The adds can be left alone just because they're not that big of a threat. As a tank, you're going to want to tank all of them if you can, depending on your stamina or resources. And if not, the DPS is going to have to deal with it. The boss by himself isn't too bad. If he gets aggro on you, just block the heavy attack, and then he does chain you in like he does me, and I CC break right away. So you can break that stun and get back on the boss. He also does a little red circle at his feet, which you just back up out of like I'm doing, avoid red circles, kill stuff. That's the basic premise here. Our healer goes down, boss is about dead, I don't care, I'm just going to nuke him because I'm a Dragon Knight. Dead. That's the first boss. Not too bad. Basic stack and whack type thing. Make sure that everyone gets those adds down right away and it's not going to be too hard of a fight for you. Next, we're moving through the dungeon, and I really like this environment. I think they did a great job on the scale, the size, the look of this dungeon. Couldn't be happier doing it. And I've ran it a million times, and it's still awe-inspiring. If you look off in the distance here with all those fire lava pits, it's pretty cool. Okay, so wait for your party, because I like to Rambo in. Everyone probably knows that by now. And then you're going to do a series of trash pulls, basically undead. If you're doing the speed challenge, you can actually skip some of these. I don't think that was intended by the developers, but we found ways to skip them. So this isn't a speed run video, it's more just a tutorial. So I'm going to go through every pull and this dungeon, just so you guys can see what you're supposed to do. And if you want to do a speedrun video, let me know in comments, and I'll see if I can't get one together. Here's the second boss. I don't even know how to pronounce her name. Urta or something? I don't know. It's crazy. So there she is. This is kind of a big ad. Lots of additional mobs in here. As you can see, there's about 20 right here before the boss even comes out. So as a Dragon Eye, I drop standards. I try to pull them in with extended chains, and then just nuke them down with impulse. You don't have to be a Dragonite. You don't have to be a Sork. What you're trying to do is do area damage. Focus down that healer and drop ultimates. So that's what you need to do, whatever class you're playing. You don't have to play magic. You can play stamina and do a two-hander and cleave them all the same. But you need something with area damage. Okay, so we got the ads down. Now I'm going to tap a couple times, spell sim to get my magic up, and the boss comes. The boss is going to basically cast 3 red circles on some players and then channel some abilities. At certain HP markers, these ads come out, and you can see there's only 2 to start. Your main priority as a tank is to control these ads. My main priority is a DPS. Kill them, get some ultimates up, drop standards, and nuke this boss. You got to stay out of the red circles, and you can't avoid all of them. I'm playing Dragonite, so I can really self-heal a lot, so I kind of face tank it, like being a bad right there. But generally, get out of the red circles. Make your life easier for the healer. As a healer, you just want to have your DPS and tank stack up together, so it's easy to heal via healing springs. Really, that's the fight for a healer. Tank's job, just take what you can. If you can CC those ads so they're in one place, it makes it a lot easier for the DPS. As you can see, I'm doing, about 2,000 damage a second on my Dragonite. And the bottom middle of my screen has my damage meter. So this build can pull a ridiculous amount of damage. And I'm going to have a video on that coming up if you want to play this type of style. Boom. Old Urta Gerda, she's down. She was Pud. Moving on. Now, these 2 people to the right, there's actually an achievement for talking and rescuing all of the people in this dungeon. So if you're into that, there's about 3 of those people right there. It's worth getting the achievement. There's a die, I think, associated with it, and then also you get some Undaunted points. So the Undaunted now have passives that actually give you health, magic, and stamina back per synergy that you use, and it's 100. So actually that's a pretty decent amount if you think about it. Free resources, why not? So go out and get all those dungeons achievements that you can. Okay, this fight is challenging for some. I think it's one of the more fun fights for me here, the harder trash pull in the game. For Dragonite, it's just awesome. So you got 3 waves, essentially. What we do is I kind of aggro these guys with some area damage, and then I drop my ultimates on the second wave, and I keep moving. Usually, my ultimate and then the other DPS will kill these people. But the important thing is that you keep moving forward. I know it seems counterintuitive, but these ads keep spawning endlessly. So the sooner you kill them and get through the gate, the sooner these ads go away. So just kind of be dropping ultimates. As you see me, I'm shooting those meteors. That's part of my gear set that this guy drops. I'm just moving through. Okay, so we get here. Obviously, healer, want to focus him, make sure he's interrupted. The tank takes the big target here, and pull in the boss immediately if you can. The boss is that big, huge flame Atronach. Not necessarily a boss, but the highest threat. Tank takes that person. I'm about dead, but I'm a Dragonite, so it's okay. I'm dropping meteors on their face. God, I love this build. And drop standard. Nuke and juke, baby. Nothing too chaotic here. Now, this boss sucks. I hate this boss. Hardest boss in the game, the Fire Maw. Not the game, I guess, but this dungeon. So here's like a little outline of where you should be. The lightning is the DPS, healer, tank. Basically, you want to drop ultimates at the back of the bastard, the Fire Maw's tail. So you're doing damage. There's going to be an ad phase. There's a lot of mechanics. So you're going to have to come back and probably look at this little graph here. But let's make an attempt here. So the guy. The tank's going to want to take him in position in the back, while the DPS go around him, and the healer kind of centers off on the tank and DPS. He does a random AoE cleave where he turns around, and he does this ground quake that causes 4 basically boulders to shoot out of the ground that do about 2,000 damage if you don't avoid them. So you're watching for the foot stomp. Already he's spawning ads. There's that foot stomp again. So the whole goal here is to drop ultimate on the back of them, and then pull in these ads, like I'm doing right here. So I should be dropping a standard soon. Come on, standard. Boom. Okay, now you drop them. So that way the standard's doing damage to the boss while you're killing the ads. You don't want to completely stop doing damage to the boss, because, oh, now here comes the stomp phase. I'll get back to that in a second. Stomp phase. Boss channel is a stomp. Huge red circles on the ground. It's bad. Move, run, don't die. Now, I made it look pretty easy there because I avoided some, but really, it's very, very difficult. The trick here is don't overlap your buddies, because your buddies can place red circles on their ground. If you get 2 red circles, you're dead. And you have ads in the meantime spawning. So this fight is very, very challenging. Now, what I'm doing is, the boss doesn't have that much HP, so you notice I'm dropping standard right on top of his little leg or his tail. That way he's still taking damage while I'm dealing with the ads. I'm pulling the ads to him with the Dragon Knight extended chains. The reason being is, every time I impulse, I can do damage to him. There's that AoE cleave that I was talking about earlier. So, I'm nearly dead. This healer is just rocking it. I mean, it's a real healer check here. You're going to have to just deal with chaos, deal with pressure, and use ultimates like crazy. Don't be saving ultimates for this fight, because you're going to need every bit of damage that you can get. At this point, I think 25% the boss has like a bubble. You can see he's like kind of molten. So just keep continuing doing what you do. Survive if at all possible. You do 0 damage a second when you're dead. You need to survive. That's your #1 priority. Dealing with the ads, doing that roll like I just did, avoiding the damage. The tank needs to pick up the boss if possible, and do your job. Heal, tank, damage, and you'll be just fine. And we did take us a couple attempts, I think, on this video, so I deleted one out. So don't think that I just, one-shot these all the time. I do die, we die, it's okay. It takes a lot of time to get used to this. There's also a pie in this room and 3 more people to talk to. So if you're after those achievements in here, make sure to stop and get that. Now we're moving through the dungeon here, and I really like the scene that it changes in these tunnels. They added a lot of dimensions to this dungeon, making it really cool. That door to my left, there's more NPCs to talk to if you're trying to get that achievement or rescuing everyone. And for the time run, the speed challenge, which I have, I recommend using retreating maneuvers. You can zoom through here. I'm still working on the no death achievement. That's going to be a tough one, because I usually die of that Fire Maw. It's hard for me. Okay, now here you can actually skip these trash bowls. You can go left or right. You can mount up and ride your horse through here if you wanted to during the speed challenge. I don't think Zos intended that to happen, but you can do it. So I'm not going to do that just for the sake of, doing this video. I want you to see, how it's meant to be played, but you can skip it if you want. And like I said, you can go left or right. It doesn't matter. You're going to face the same amount of mobs, so it's really your choice. I go left. I don't know why. It's just, let's go left. We get a little Flame Colossus. These are also part of achievements, so you probably don't want to skip these if you're an achievement guy like me. I really like those Undaunted passives, so I'm trying to get every dungeon achievement I can. Nothing here, stack and whack. As a tank, make sure you're position these mobs inside of your friendly ultimates, because if they're doing damage, you want them to be inside of it. Faster it's kick and die, faster you get through the dungeon. A couple more trash bowls here before we get to the main boss. Here are 3 guys that can't be CC'd or negated. The best thing to do is clump them up, and then make sure interrupts are on the archers. The archers will do this huge heavy attack that can basically one-shot your team. So make sure the tank and or you are just interrupting. As you see, someone got CC'd there, and you can almost die. I do a lot of block casting, which is cast and block. That way I can prevent some of the damage. It's really helpful in Dragon Star Arena. So that's kind of a tip you can use. It is kind of cheesy, so yeah, you can hate on me if you don't like that, but it's effective, so I'm going to do it. Last big trash bowl here. I drop an ultimate because it's so easy for me to get ultimate back up, but you ultimately want an ultimate for this next fight. So if you have struggle getting ultimate, don't burn it here. Don't burn it. Save it. But for me, I already have another ultimate almost up. Not a problem. Now we get to the fourth boss, the Ash Titan, also known as the Arse Titan. We want to do the same type of positioning. The tank off about 15 meters away, the healer centered on between the DPS and or the tank. The DPS behind the big nasty dragon titan thing. Because you want to avoid the cleave, you want to avoid fire, and the boss has some nasty mechanics. I actually don't think this boss is too hard once you get it down. You'll see here, it can hit hard. There's a few mechanics that we have to avoid, but really it's not too tough. The biggest thing is the tank has a lot of responsibility in the healer, staying close together. You really need to stay alive. I know that's self-explanatory, but the healer and the tank come first, DPS comes second. So the healer and the tank, you can see the tank has the crown, goes off on their own. Now, as a DPS, you can get up here and do damage to this Ash Titan for a while. So don't be afraid to get up there and do melee damage like I'm doing. Now, that big, huge knockback, that's the flame waves. Now you just kind of kite them like this, going in between like a platform game. And then you do damage on the boss again. This next phase here, everyone has a red circle dot on them. You can block through that, and I'm doing block casting right now. What you want to avoid is 2 red circles. Kodog over here, my friend, didn't, so I'm going to res him. Don't panic if someone dies, it's not a big deal. DPS should res always. Now, the boss spawned an ad right there. That's you see that purple tint on their health bar? That's a flame bubble shield. You shouldn't damage them during this time, because you're not going to get through it. So really, the tank has a tough job of kiting here, basically taking the boss, taking the ad, until they drop that bubble. Now the bubbles drop, you can kill this ad. Get them down right away. Drop Novas, drop Veil of Blades, drop Standards, anything you have. Get that sucker down. Because the faster this goes down, the easier it's going to be. About got this guy down. So there's a flame wave cycle. There's an ad cycle. Here we go with the flame waves again. I usually do 1 dodge roll back after I get knocked back, and I'm still doing damage on the boss, even though I'm weaving in those flames, because you want to do damage at all times as a DPS. Don't do what I just did. Don't stack up into your buddy's flames. That was bad on my part. You want to spread out, but have enough range where you can get healed. Another ad comes. If you have really good DPS, you just leave this ad alone. The tank picks it up, or a DPS that can mitigate a lot of damage just kites it, and you just disregard it and go on the boss. For me, it just makes more sense because by the time I kill that ad, the boss could be dead. It's really tough for the tank, so they're going to have to watch their resources. But for me, screw it. I'm just going to kill this thing. And he's dead. So look at my DPS meter, I got about 900 and some, which isn't bad considering all the movement, blocking, that sort of thing, dodging. So really, if you're doing 900, 1,000 damage a second, you're doing a lot. So that's it for this guy. Now we're moving through the next part of the dungeon, which is a couple more trash pulls, and then the big nasty last boss, which is pretty hard. And as you can see, there's not a whole lot of dull points in this fight, this dungeon. You're killing stuff the entire time. It also drops the Spellweaver set in different armor weights, light, heavy, and medium. And there's some added benefits to using those. I'm not using them currently, but I know a couple guys that are going to run them with their builds. So there's reasons to kill these trash mobs. They do drop some good loot. So make sure you're looting them. This is kind of a hard pull. Make sure you're blocking. Just drop an ultimate or 2. Nuke them. Another ad comes. If you're me, just face tank it and impulse spam like a meatball and kill him. That was 2,000 DPS a second. That's good. There's a couple more people you can rescue right here if you're looking to get that achievement completed, so wait for their dialogue and then talk to them. I'm not going to ruin that story for you. There's my dog. I love my dog. That's a cool dog. Okay, big ad pull here. Don't be intimidated. Just run in, nuke, drop ultimates, things die. It's okay. Make sure to interrupt. Interrupt. I think a lot of DPS really lack the interrupt ability. You got to. It's not just the tank's job. It's not just the DPS. Everyone needs to interrupt. So make sure you're interrupting. Preventing damage also is the best way to heal half the time. You know, is prevent damage, not just work through it. I think I missed that guy on this achievement run, so I went and talked to him. If you're doing the speed challenge, you can skip this portion. You get on your horse and you just actually dodge roll through the lava after you jump with your horse. And you can skip about 10 minutes of fighting, where I shot right there. I'm not going to do that for the sake of this video, but just so you know, if you're wanting to do it really, really fast, you can. More trash bowls. These things charge, block cast, things die. Pulling the Atronach. As you can see, it's very handy having a Dragonite around that can pull. I love my Dragonite. It's good DPS tank or healer. I mean, it's just a beast. But we're running with a Sork DPS, a Dragonite DPS myself, and then a Templar healer and a Templar tank. More trash pulls. Now these have 3 heavy hitting adds, so you may want to split up DPS. But what you need to do is just have the tank take one and constantly interrupt while the DPS work on another one. It'll make this fight easier. Stay out of red circles like always. It's the pro tip of the day. Stay out of red, kill crap, and dungeons are easy. Boom! Look at that meteor. Isn't that cool? You're probably going to have to run this dungeon 30 times to get it, but it's cool. And for those interested in getting it, the shoulder is part of the Undaunted set. I have a guide on that on my site and or YouTube. So you can get that set, the shoulder, via the turn-ins on the Undaunted pledges, and the helm only you can get in this dungeon. So you're going to have to do a series of things to get this 2-piece set that drops those meteors that I'm doing right there. So prepare to run some dungeons, though these are a lot of fun, so I enjoy it. So those about 2 or 3 fights right there we could have skipped if we just took the lava, but we were good kids and we didn't. Now, you get here. During the speed challenge, you can actually ride your horse right now, and you have to go to 2 things, one on the left, one on the right, and basically, I don't know, take this bang and channel it or something. Don't ride up there right away, because that flame Atronach that was riding up there, if you go up there before it, it actually comes up and it doesn't despawn. So you have an extra enemy the entire time. So don't do that. So give it a couple seconds, run up here. And then this is the, I don't know, teleporter thing you have to kill or something. I don't know. These guys don't even fight back. It's going to have a few waves here. And these are actually pretty tricky. I think I die in this next one. I'm going to explain a lot of this because it's not easy mode, these fights actually. The first couple of fights are just simple mobs. They don't even have an elite mob. You just stack and whack, pull them in here, and just nuke them down. No problem. These guys have 1 or 2, I think, elites. Maybe not. Looks like 1 elite in the middle, which is a 2-hander. He pulled me in. Thank you for that. So make sure the tank picks up the elites. DPS just, you know, chain in people, do that sort of thing. Nothing too major here. Now this spawn, we'll get about 2 elites. So 2 archers. Usually you want the tank to take 1, the DPS to take another. That way it's constantly getting interrupted. Though you can do it whatever way you like. Even the healer can take 1. Doesn't matter. Just make sure that they're getting interrupted. Now comes the boss. These things are actually pretty hard. What you're going to need to do is interrupt this thing. The tank wants to take the boss and face it away from the group. If you don't interrupt it, it's going to hit a huge channel that will nuke your party. See, that cleave damage right there, you can avoid it by pointing it away from the group. Also, The Storm Atronox will spawn, you're going to have to deal with them. Hypothetically, you want the tank to take them, but the tank really needs to focus on interrupting the boss and making sure that it's pointed away from the group. If they do that and I have to deal with a couple Atros, fine. As long as things are getting interrupted, because if they don't, you're going to die. And I die in the next one, I think. So it'll be a great point to show you that it's okay to die. It's okay to make mistakes, because believe me, this is a hard dungeon. You see that we're doing a good job rotating ultimates for damage mitigation. That's really how you're going to survive these hard encounters. Don't be saving ultimates for a rainy day. Use them suckers. They don't do you any good when you're dead and you have an ultimate up. So that was taking that little tower down. Now you just go to the other side. And then that unlocks the last boss. The last boss is pretty hard, but I don't think as hard as the Fire Maw. So we're going to go do the same other thing. Some tips here: you're going to need a tank that can self-heal, probably. You're going to need a tank that can do some, mitigation by themselves. You're going to need a healer that can burst heal. Templars are the obvious choice, though you can do it with a Sorc. I've healed, tanked, and DPS this dungeon, so it's good to kind of get each role if you have characters that can do that. Not everyone has a million VR14s like I do, but it will help you out in the end. So pull these little suckers in, just nuke their faces off. They hate me. And I never get tired of seeing those meteors drop. It's just awesome. I mean, come on. The game, look at that. It's just sick. Okay, so we gotta take these little guys. I'm dropping standards left and right. That doesn't get old either. There, you little booger. That little thing that dropped there is the healing set, the Bogdan's set. That's also my other guy too. It's pretty effective for healers, so you might want to think about picking that up if you're a healer, because it saved us a million times in this dungeon. And while we got a kind of a slow point, Kodog dies here. He was off on his own, I think, and it's hard to heal when two people are off on their own, so it's something to look out for. Also, the healer can get CC'd, which was what happened, how he died, so be careful there. Now, big boss comes, and I'm gonna die here. No spoilers, I know, but basically, you see that cast, that channel? If that doesn't get interrupted, we're dead. And so, at some point, we miss it right there, dead. You look at my damage recap, whatever, Zolly, Bali, Lightning, Grasp. So that's that huge channel that if it doesn't get interrupted, you insta-die. So don't let that happen. It's hard to avoid, it's hard to interrupt, it's hard to tank all those mobs, but it can be done. Our tank dies. It's just hard. This fight is harder than some of the bosses, to be honest with you. I'm doing a lot of AoE damage because I want those stupid ads to go down along with the boss. You can do it whatever way you want. If you have enough single target pressure just to nuke them down right away and just face tank those. Interrupt, see, you gotta interrupt that thing. I'm not dying to that again. I'm not dying to it again. No, I'm not. And I'm block casting here. I'm not even gonna screw around with doing weaving when I'm dying. Because I hate to die. I hate to lose. So I don't want to do it. Drop damage mitigation ultimates as usual. And just nuke them down. At some point, you just gotta will yourself through this content and just say, I am going to kill you. And you're not going to be able to do anything about it. And that's kind of what I did here. I'm about to die. Come on, give me a heal. Oh wait, everyone's dead. Come on. Oh, we killed him. So, that almost wiped us and up with a trash bowl. So things are hard in here. Don't be afraid to fail. You're going to learn in this fight. So, just get through it. It's no big deal. No reason to point blame at people. And speaking of which, thanks for this group. This is Kodog, Medj. They do a lot of Skyshard runs for ESOTR. And then Zaz, Entropy Rising Guilty, is healing. And they're really good guildies, really good players. So I made this video real easy. So I appreciate them helping. Here's a bridge. Yes, it's invisible. You think you can run across it, though. I've done it before and fell into the fire like an idiot. So be careful. And here's the last boss, baby. What are these platforms? Here's the boss, the platform. You're going to want to go to 1, then to the DPS go to the center one, number 2. There's a way to activate hard mode in the back, which I'm going to make a separate video on for those that want to do that. It is very difficult. It's more of a DPS challenge. But this is kind of how the layout is. The boss itself does a couple different mechanics. We died earlier, so I didn't want to show you that. I didn't want to show you the fail that we died. Though it is hard. You're going to die probably learning this, so don't be afraid to, sit here for a while and do it. The tank's going to be off on their own and at one platform while the DPS from the center. The tank taunts it. That's that first cast. It shoots a fireball that can CC you. Notice that I dodge rolled and avoid it. Everyone can do that. The tank, the healer, the DPS. It's your job to make sure you dodge roll that. And boom, dodge roll. See? So the second mechanic is that he places a flame pool like that on the ground. The tank did a good job placing it towards the edge of the platform. That way they can back up and then they can avoid a lot of that flame damage. Make sure that if you can't dodge roll, at least you block that flame cast. Next thing, play another flame thing. You don't want it in the middle, you want it by the edge. And here he comes. He's ready to break up the thing. Now, how do you know he's going to break the platform? He takes out his sword and gets it out. You notice I dodge rolled through the lava. I don't care. I'm going to get through that platform really fast. He goes to different platforms. It's at random. So the thing is here, you have 3 adds, plus you have to break his bubble. What I like to do is drop an ultimate and use my AoE damage to really get those flame atros down. Now that his bubble is broken, you just do the same sort of thing, except this time you all have to be on the same platform. If you try to get off on a different platform, you're going to be CC'd and stun locked. So avoid that. As you can see there, I got CC'd with one of his Petrify abilities. I just blocked, didn't panic, just kind of stay back. If the tank may lose aggro, it's fine, it's hard, it's a hard fight. Just deal with it. Block, spell sim, get your magic up, drop ultimates, use potions. This is not easy. Don't point fingers when someone dies, even though that's something I need to work on. CC'd, break it up. I like to use the tri-stat food here, because I have more stamina. He does that platform break, and you're going to rush to it. Remember, it's random, so we just guessed right on this one. Drop your ultimates. Get that bubble down fast. I'm pulling in the atros here. Come here, you little guys. And then doing that damage to the atros also gives me a lot of ultimate back, so I'm almost ready to do my ultimate again. Now, don't take him in the lava. You don't want to do that. Avoid red circles. And he's getting pretty low here, but everyone's resources are getting pretty low. So you're going to need a lot of stamina for this fight, actually, even if you are a magic user. Because you notice I'm dodge rolling a lot, I'm running, CC, blocking. It's very resource intensive. And he's about to go down. Dead. So, that was it. And that takes a lot of attempts to do it. Now, the boss doesn't drop any loot. You actually have to go to this chest in the center. So I didn't get crap for this. So I got a little hat. I mean, that's, oh, what, a belt? Oh, look at a blue belt for beating that. That's nothing. But that's the helmet and the shoulders that I'm using for that set. So if you want more information on that, check out the other guides. And then don't forget to go through this door and complete the quest. You go through here and it proxies 2 NPCs, and then you actually have to hit the sigil stone. So if you don't want to see the rest of it, tune away. But this is the sigil stone you have to hit. Now, I've already done this quest, but this would unlock it for you. So that make sure you don't just leave so you get the skill point. Then you have the little dialogue, a little scenario here, and then all the people that you saved are up front. I really like that touch of the dungeon. It really makes you feel like it's your instance, like you saved these people. So it was really cool. I love this dungeon. I hope this guide was helpful to you guys and that you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. I know it's one of the harder ones. Keep at it. You'll get it down. Feel free to leave me a comment or subscribe to me. I appreciate you watching.
Never again. I wasn't meant for this.